name is Zina Young. I've been a member here at Shannon Oaks for a long time. I was blessed with 4 boys, Jared, Brandon, Christopher, and Jonathan. On June 8, 2015, my life changed dramatically. I received a knock on my door at the middle of the night, and when I went to answer the door, there was a guy outside, and he was telling me Jonathan had gotten shot. As I'm asking where he was, and he told me he was at the park, and I was just immediately went numb. I drove to the park alone, and there was a policeman there that told me I need to drive to the hospital. Again, I was alone, but I had called Christopher and was talking to him on the phone on the way there. Well, by the time I got there, my family was already there. A lot of them were. Some of them were pulling up just as I was. We had to wait for the doctor to come out, but the doctor wouldn't allow anybody to go back with me. He made me go back by myself. I get back there, and the doctor said they did everything they could do, but that Jonathan had died. It began a journey of hurt and pain that I never thought I'd ever have to experience. From planning a funeral for my son that I just didn't have it in me to do. Luckily, I had help. It was just so numbing to me, and I honestly just do not know how I made it through the week. It was the worst week of my life. But in this time that we've been just anger and depression and just constant crying. I mean, I cried every day for months, and a lot of it I just hid from other people because I just didn't want them to feel sad. And so I would a lot of times avoid going out with friends and just didn't want to be around people, and because I just couldn't stop the hurt. The trial was like 14 months to the day that he passed away, and it was very hard, pretty traumatizing, just going through all the details of what happened that night and finding out stuff that I really just did not want to know. I mean, I just really didn't want to hear all the answers to everything that went on. But just sitting through that trial and watching, I was sitting where I could see Tilton Mapp's face and just watching his face, knowing that he had no remorse at all whatsoever, that he just kept denying it, and it just broke my heart even more. When they got ready to do the sentencing and they found him, sentenced him to 99 years, I watched his eyes, and his eyes just kind of really got big, like he just wasn't expecting that. And so I thought, well, I guess he got some kind of feelings going on there. And so during that time, I signed a letter of just saying that I didn't want any contact with him. And at the time, I mean, the pain was just so bad, I just did not even want to see him. I honestly wished that he would die in prison. I felt like my life was spiraling out of control a lot of times. Even with counseling, the counseling helped, but there were still those parts of me that was still so angry. And then there was times that I would lash out at other people. I knew that, you know, things were not the way it's supposed to be, and I wasn't liking myself or who I was. And I didn't want to be that person anymore. A few months ago, our Sunday school class began studying a book on what's so amazing about grace. And there were a lot of stories in there on forgiveness and how we should forgive, how we should show grace to other people. But a lot of those stories didn't center on what I was going through. And so I've struggled with really trying to figure out where I fit into all that. How do I forgive? How do I even forget about what's happened when I can sit and just tell you step by step still what happened that night, all the details that went on when Jonathan died. I had to do some studying on my own and just really look into what God was trying to tell me to do. During all that time, as I'm contemplating, thinking, or reaching out to Tilton Maps, I also realized that I needed to do some real deep soul searching for myself and know where God wanted me to go with all of this. So as I'm working my second job, the guy who was instrumentally involved in getting Tilton Maps to town, he comes into the store and I have to look at him, but God blocked that memory from me for his role in the whole thing, because I could not remember why he was there, or why he was looking at me so strange that day. And so I just went home and not thinking about it, but then a couple of days later, it just hit me all of a sudden why I was having him on my mind. And then honestly, I did not have a panic attack like I normally would have. I remembered who he was. I remembered the role he played, that he made that phone call, and I knew that he was responsible for Jonathan dying. But surprisingly, I think God was trying to tell me that I'm ready to handle that now, because I felt no hostility toward him. A couple of days later, he comes back in the store, and this time I was able to look at him and kind of interact with him like I do some of the other customers. I guess he probably thought I should have said something stupid or like really lashed out at him, but I didn't have that in my heart to do that to him. And so I just knew at that point that God was bringing me to a peace with this whole situation. So that's when I decided that I really do need to reach out to Tilton Maps. I sat down and wrote a letter to him, and it came back because I had forgotten why that I really thought first that he just sent the letter back and just didn't even open it or anything. But it kept tugging at me, and I know that the enemy wanted me to just drop it and let it go. Since I signed the letter saying that he could not have contact with me, that meant I could not have contact with him. And so she gave me a phone number and address where I needed to talk to the people, I guess, who are over the mail that's go in and out, and asked to be taken off the negative mail list. And so I just sat down and wrote them a letter and explained why that I wanted to extend forgiveness and grace to Tilton Maps. And they granted that, and so I was able to write him a letter. Dear Mr. Maps, I know you probably think it's strange to hear from me, but lately I've been feeling the need to reach out to you. We've been studying forgiveness in my Sunday school class. Everyone has their opinions on how to forgive and forget. Well, in my situation, I don't believe I can ever forget. In the book of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32, it tells us to be kind and compassionate and to forgive each other. You are as much a child of God as I am. I don't have any right to judge you. I am commanded to love you. The Bible also says in Romans chapter 14, verse 19, for us to make every effort to do what leads to peace. I want my family to have peace. I no longer want to be angry. I don't want my family angry. So, Mr. Maps, I'm praying for peace for you and for your family, as well as mine. I forgive you for taking the life of my youngest son. I'm praying God forgives you too. I pray you allow God into your heart and that you can find a peace that only He can give. I pray mostly for your children, that they may know God and that He is their true Father. Mr. Maps, God is our only way to true freedom. I want that freedom, and I pray you will too. Sincerely, Zina Young. He actually wrote back to me within a few days of getting the letter.
Dear Miss Zina Young, I don't know if you wanted to hear back from me, but when God moves you to do something, we must obey. I want to thank you for forgiving me, Miss Young. I really do. And I've been praying for you and your family since day one. I done built a relationship with God since I've been in here. I would like to tell you that you are a strong woman, and I thank God for blessing you to write me. I'm sorry for all the pain, hurt that I put on you and your family. I know sorry is not going to make things better. Only God can do that. But I want you to know I mean it from my heart, Ms. Zina Young. I've been praying for over 3 years that God speaks to you for me, and I see that He has just done that. I pray God keeps speaking to you, Ms. Young, and I pray He speaks to your family as well. I go to church, read my Bible. I'm a true believer in God. 1 Peter 4:8 say love covers a multitude of sin. I pray that God shows you His favor more than ever and bring peace upon you. Thanks for praying for me and my family, my kids. I will always keep you in my prayer, your family. It's a blessing from God to hear from you. I pray you understand how sorry I am for everything. Please, Ms. Zina Young, may God bless you. May God's will be done in both our lives. Peace, blessing be upon you. Sincerely, Tilton Maps.
Well, that meant the world to me, because all I wanted was for him to say he was sorry, and he did. I know that God is bringing me to a place where I don't have to be angry anymore, and I don't have to be held hostage by unforgiveness. So if someone is holding on to anger and bitterness and unforgiveness, I would encourage you to put yourself in that person's position right now. Life is short. The pain is just not, pain is so real and it hurts so bad. And if you ever want to get rid of that pain, the best way to go is forgiveness. You have to let go, because you can't get even, because getting even won't fix it. And so as long as you're holding on to that, you will never be happy. And you cannot be all you're meant to be as long as you're holding on to those feelings. I believe I'm on the road to my complete healing. I feel so much better not dealing with all of that hanging over my head, like I couldn't move forward. So now I feel like I can move forward. And I really want to share with other people how much better I feel. And it's kind of hard to explain exactly how I feel. It's just the fact that I know that God loves me, God loves Tilton, and you cannot love if you don't have God and if you don't have forgiveness. And so I am just totally in awe of where God is leading me, and I want to be all I can be to serve Him and to serve others if that's the way I need to go. I wouldn't mind sharing my story with other people to help them get to that place.